way of living which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, or any other purpose. This is the definition of veganism from the Vegan Society website, and is a way of life that is being adopted by many people throughout the globe. So today in particular, we'll be focusing in on the country that is the leader in this particular movement, and that is the United Kingdom, as the number of vegans has quadrupled from the year 2014 to 2019. We'll explore some of the reasons why that is. And for the sake of clarity in this video, I might use the term plant-based diet as well as vegan interchangeably, as I'm just speaking to the dietary aspect of the movement. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll become aware of some of the key statistics that show the growth of this movement, have an understanding as to why so many people in the UK are opting for these plant-based diets. And I also wanted to add into that I'm currently a student at the University of Florida, and I'm pursuing a degree in environmental management. And in many of my classes, I've been exploring ways in which plant-based agriculture and plant-based eating can have impacts on the world in which we live in. So with our roadmap in place, I'll first talk about the pros and cons of veganism and the rise of veganism in the UK. I will then talk about the projected outlook of the movement and some of the outcomes that can occur as a result of this dietary change. So we'll begin our discussion with the pros and cons of veganism. Alright, so let's first begin with the pros. And that is 1, plant-based diets are environmentally friendly. According to a 2018 article written from the Science Journal, meat produces more emissions per unit of energy than does plant-based foods. And as we all know, emissions such as CO2 and methane, two of the biggest that are given off by the animal agricultural industry, contributes to climate change. So a lot of UK citizens are looking to reduce their meat consumption in order to mitigate the impacts of climate change. Another environmental benefit that we're looking at is reduction of water use. And just to put it into perspective, agriculture as a whole uses more fresh water than any other human activity on Earth. Nearly a third of this water that is used in agriculture is used for livestock. 98% of the water used for livestock is simply used to grow animal feed, while the other 2% is used for the animal drinking water and surface water, etc. So with many in the world already experiencing the impacts of water depletion and droughts, and our underground water reservoirs called aquifers drying up, water conservation has become a critical movement moving forward. This is a key component in many's decision to go plant-based. Now that we discussed some environmental pros of veganism, I'll now talk about another area of pros of the movement, and that comes in the realm of health. So in 2016, there's an article published by the University of Oxford. And in that article, they explored the idea if the global population went vegan, what would happen to premature deaths? Well, they found that by the year 2050, we could avoid 8.1 million premature deaths. And this is for a couple of reasons. The first being we would reduce the amount of red meat that's consumed. And red meat is often correlated with poor health outcomes, especially some cancers such as colorectal cancer. Secondly, we'd be increasing the amount of fruits and vegetables we eat, which are often associated with good health outcomes. And then lastly, we would be reducing the rate of obesity, which again is associated with a shorter life expectancy. So to continue on with another health pro, it's going to be healthcare cost reduction. So when I was doing my research, I came across an article published by the Journal of Nutrition in April 2018. And in this article, they found some pretty staggering findings in the outlook for Belgium and the UK if they adopted more of a plant-based diet. So they found that if only 10% of the total population in the UK committed to a high adherence of a soy-containing diet, societal savings in 20 years would equate to about 10.91 billion pounds, or just over 14 billion US dollars. Alright, so now that we discovered some of the pros of being a vegan, what are some of the cons of the movement? And that comes in the form of a couple different things, and mainly it's for the people participating in the movement. And for one, it's just going to be the adjusting time it takes to be a vegan. It can take quite some time to learn to adjust to a completely plant-based diet, as many of us have eaten these products for our entire lives. So it takes some effort in learning new recipes, what to eat, and how to ensure you're getting all of the nutrients you need. Second is the social stigma and limited dining options attached to it. So being vegan puts you in a vast majority, or I should say minority of the population, which can make social situations kind of tricky to navigate, and you might be forced to explain why you're not eating a certain thing at various points in time, which can be socially uncomfortable for some. And then also limited dining options. As many of us know, animal products are served in every single restaurant out there. So in order to find a vegan establishment, it is pretty tricky, but the UK is a leader in this particular movement and growing these establishments, and we'll discuss that in the presentation. However, with these cons in mind, there have been many health institutions and resources that are helping vegans live well-rounded and healthy lifestyles, and the movement is only gaining popularity by the day. So now that we've discussed the pros and cons of veganism, I'll now move on
to the meat of our topic, pun intended.
And that is the rise of veganism in the United Kingdom. As I mentioned earlier, the number of vegans in the United Kingdom has quadrupled in the years from 2014 to 2019. And currently the country has overtaken Germany as a world leader of vegan food launches, with 1 in 6 new food products being launched being vegan. So in addition to all the new vegan food product launches, another interesting piece of research I found was a recent study that was given to British adults asking why they were deciding to go plant-based. And 49% of them stated it was for health concerns, while animal welfare and environmental concerns were other key contributing factors. Social media also played a huge role. Social media is a key contributor to the rise of this movement because there have been many recipes and YouTube channels and just general information that's spread across various platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and of course YouTube, as I just mentioned, talk about veganism and are bringing to light some of the many benefits this lifestyle can have. And in addition, some of the primary YouTubers in this sphere, such as Earthling Ed and Naturally Stephanie, are based in the UK and have a large following there. And then lastly, it's just simply easier to be vegan nowadays, especially in the UK. In 2017, the city of London was the first city ever to have over 100 vegan restaurants within its city limits. So it's easy to see that with all of these factors combined, why the UK is the current world leader in plant-based diet movement. So now that we talked about the rise of veganism in the UK, let's talk about the outlook of veganism in the UK and some of the potential outcomes as well. So according to a recent report published by the second largest UK supermarket called Sainsbury's in the region, vegetarians and vegans are expected to make up a quarter of the British people by 2025. Also, vegans are expected to make up roughly 4.15% of the UK population by the end of this year, 2020, an increase of 98% compared to 2019. Now that we explored how the outlook is looking up until 2025 and at the end of this year, let's take a look at some of the outcomes of the vegan movement. So for one, the vegan food market is definitely going to expand. It will hopefully create a whole bunch of different jobs in the manufacturing and processing of these foods. And then in addition, just a larger percentage of the population will be vegan. So that leads us to what type of ramifications does that have on the environment and on health, etc. Well, as we discussed earlier, some of the pros of veganism is that if we reduce the amount of animal products we consume, we're going to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted from the industry, particularly carbon dioxide and methane, which in turn will hopefully lessen the acceleration of global warming. Secondly, it will reduce the burden of water consumption. It will help preserve our underground reservoirs of water called aquifers. And then also, in regards to healthcare, it will hopefully make more people become health conscious. It will lower the amount of healthcare costs that are incurred from diseases such as colorectal cancer and obesity as well. Okay, so that brings us to our conclusion. So today we talked about many different things. We first began with the pros and cons of veganism. Again, some of the environmental benefits we discussed, and then we also discussed healthcare cost reduction. We then moved in some of the cons of veganism and Mainly that's for the individuals who are partaking, take the amount of time it takes to adjust, and also limited dining options, social stigma. And then we talked in particular about the UK and how those pros and cons are affecting the UK people, and how many of those people are very conscious, again, according to the survey I referenced earlier, about the health benefits and also about environmental concerns and animal welfare concerns. We then talked about potential impacts if those folks went vegan. Again, hopefully that would reduce the amount of greenhouse gases we emit and reduce healthcare costs, etc. As an additional note, I just wanted to explain the inspiration behind this particular video. And as many of you can probably guess, I am vegan myself. I have been vegan since 2018, and it really has been quite the journey. I've learned a lot along the way, and it's something I'm pretty passionate about researching, especially at my time at the University of Florida, researching how animal agriculture has impacts on the world, and how plant-based agriculture and how eating a plant-based diet can have potential benefits as well. So it's definitely something that I've been passionate about lately, and I look forward to continuing to learn. I look forward to studying more countries and where this movement is happening, and hopefully one day I can actually visit the UK and experience some of that awesomeness over there, especially in London. They seem to have the UK corner of the market on the veganism there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.